The massive crystal halls of the Galactic Council buzzed with the familiar sounds of 1,000 different languages. High Coordinator HFY stood at the center of the great chamber, his blue skin shimmering under the artificial lights. Around him, representatives from 847 different worlds waited for the meeting to begin. This happened every 3 years. The same faces, the same reports, the same boring discussions about trade routes and mining rights. HFY had been doing this job for 30 years, and nothing ever surprised him anymore. "Let us begin," he announced, his voice echoing through the translator systems. The chamber fell silent as delegates settled into their seats. Some sat, some floated, some hung from the ceiling. Each species had their own way, but they all understood the rules. Junior Analyst Crixtal shuffled through her datapad near the back of the room. She was new, only 2 years out of the academy. Her job was simple: monitor the outer rim sectors and report anything unusual. In all her time here, she had never found anything worth mentioning until today. Her 6 eyes focused on the strange readings from her scanner. Energy signatures were coming from Sector 7741 Delta. That was impossible. That sector had been dead for 500 years. She checked the readings again, then a third time. The numbers did not lie. "High Coordinator," she called out, her voice shaking slightly. The chamber turned to look at her. HFY frowned. Junior analysts were not supposed to speak during council sessions unless asked. "What is it, Analyst?" "Sir, I am detecting energy signatures from the dead zone." The chamber exploded into noise. Delegates spoke in dozens of languages all at once. Some stood up, others made clicking sounds, and a few released chemical scents that made the air smell like fear. HFY raised his hand for silence. "Show me the data." Crixtal's readings appeared on the main screen. Clear energy spikes came from the empty sector. The readings were fresh, less than 6 hours old. Elder Council member Dexara rose from her chair. She was old, even by her species standards. Her pale, wrinkled skin spoke of centuries of life. When she spoke, even the loudest delegates listened. "The quarantine protocols," she whispered. The chamber fell completely silent. Many of the younger delegates had never heard that term before, but the older members knew. They remembered the stories their grandparents told them about the sealed sectors. "Tell them, Dexara," HFY said quietly. The ancient delegate moved slowly to the center of the chamber. Her walking stick clicked against the crystal floor with each step. "Long ago, before most of our species reached the stars, there was another civilization. We call them the first ones, or the predecessors. They were more advanced than we are now. They had technology we still do not understand." She pointed at the image of Sector 7741 Delta on the screen. Before they vanished, the predecessors sealed away certain systems. They built barriers around them, energy fields that nothing could pass through. They left behind only warnings. Simple messages that said some places were too dangerous to visit. What was in those systems? Asked a delegate from the Corvan Empire. "We never knew." The predecessor's final message was clear. Never let them out. We trusted their wisdom. For 500 years, those barriers have held. No one goes in, nothing comes out. Crixtal's datapad beeped again. She looked at the readings, and her face turned pale. "High Coordinator," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The energy signatures are getting stronger. And, sir, there are artificial constructs moving beyond the barrier." The main screen updated with new sensor data. Clear shapes moved through space near the edge of the quarantine zone. They were not natural objects. Someone had built them. "Impossible," muttered General Corvesh from the Thanagarian delegation. "Our long-range sensors show the barriers are still active." "No, sir," Crixtal replied, checking her instruments again. "The barriers are breaking. from the inside. Panic spread through the chamber. Some delegates began making emergency calls to their home worlds. Others demanded immediate military action. The noise level rose until HFY could barely hear himself think. Silence. He roared. When order returned, he turned to the military advisors. General Corvesh, what do we know about that system? The Thanagarian general accessed his files quickly. 1 yellow star, 9 planets. The third planet shows signs of having once supported life, but our records show it went dark around the time the barriers were established. We assumed everything there was dead. What could survive 500 years in isolation? Unknown, sir. But if the predecessors were afraid of it, he did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood. The predecessors had been the most powerful civilization in galactic history. If they had been afraid of something, then the current council had good reason to be terrified. Sir, Krigstel interrupted again. The constructs are moving faster now. They appear to be ships. Ships? Yes, sir. And they are heading directly for the barrier. The main screen showed the objects more clearly now. They were definitely artificial vessels, but unlike anything in the Council's databases. They moved with purpose, accelerating toward the weakening energy field that had contained them for centuries. How long until they reached the barrier? Sci-Fi asked. At current speed. 4 hours, sir. The High Coordinator made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. Send a message to all Council fleets. Set condition yellow throughout the outer rim. And prepare a first contact team. Sir? General Converse looked confused. Should we not prepare for combat instead? General, we do not even know what we are facing. Until we do, we follow standard protocols. If these beings have been locked away for 500 years, they may not understand that the galaxy has changed. But deep in his mind, HFY wondered if they were making a terrible mistake. The predecessors had not sealed away that system to protect whatever lived there. They had sealed it to protect everyone else. As the emergency session continued, none of the council members noticed Krigstel's final reading. Hidden in the stream of data was something that would have terrified them even more. The unknown ships were not just leaving their system. They were broadcasting. And somehow, impossibly, they were doing it in 17 different galactic languages, including 3 that had been dead for over 200 years. Whatever had been locked away in Sector 7741 Delta had been listening and learning and preparing. The countdown had begun. Captain Devara stood on the bridge of the council ship Harmony's Voice, watching the broken pieces of the ancient barrier drift past her viewport. The energy field that had contained Sector 7741 Delta for 500 years now looked like shattered glass floating in space. How is this possible? She whispered to her science officer. Dr. Yentl checked his instruments for the 10th time in as many minutes. The Altarian scientist's forearms moved quickly across his control panels, but the readings remained the same. Captain, the energy requirements to break these barriers would be enormous. Our most powerful weapons could not even scratch them. Yet something inside that system tore them apart like paper. Tavara had led dozens of first contact missions during her 20-year career. She had met civilizations that built cities in gas clouds, species that lived in the hearts of stars, and beings made of pure energy. But she had never encountered anything that could destroy predecessor technology. Movement detected, announced her tactical officer. 3 vessels approaching from the inner system, on screen. The main display showed 3 ships moving toward them with impossible precision. They were not large, each one about the size of a council destroyer. But they moved like living things, changing direction without visible engines, accelerating and stopping in ways that defied physics. Their hulls, Dr. Yentl said quietly. Look at their hulls. Tavara focused on the image. The ships were scarred and dented, their metal surfaces marked by what looked like centuries of combat. Burn marks, impact craters, and weapon scorings covered every inch of their armor. These were warships, built for fighting and tested by violence. "Communications incoming," reported her com officer. "Standard greeting, all languages," Tavara ordered. This was protocol. Greet unknown species in as many languages as possible until they responded. But before her com officer could speak, a voice filled the bridge. It spoke in perfect Galactic Standard, the common language used by all Council species. Council Vessel Harmony's voice. "This is Admiral Sarah Chun of the Human Defense Fleet. We are aware of your first contact protocols. We appreciate your peaceful approach. However, your protocols are unnecessary." Tavara felt her blood turn cold. How could they know her ship's name? How could they speak Galactic Standard? "This is Captain Tavara of the Galactic Council. We welcome you to the Galactic community. We hope to establish peaceful relations with you people." "Captain Tavara," the human voice replied. "We know who you are. We know what the Galactic Council represents. And we know why you kept us locked away." The bridge fell silent. Tavara looked at her crew, seeing her own confusion reflected in their faces. This was not how first contact was supposed to work. New species were always confused, afraid, or amazed when they met the Galactic community for the first time. They did not speak multiple languages or demonstrate knowledge of Council operations. "I believe there has been a misunderstanding," Tavara said carefully. "Your system was sealed by an ancient civilization called the Predecessors. The current Council had nothing to do with your isolation." Laughter filled the bridge speakers. It was not a pleasant sound. "Captain, may I suggest a different approach?" The human voice said, "Let us meet face to face. Your people and mine. But let me be clear about something first." One of the human ships moved closer. As it did, Tavara's sensors detected something that made her heart stop. The ship was covered in weapons. Not just a few defensive systems, but hundreds of weapon ports, missile launchers, and energy projectors. It carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. "We are not asking for permission to join your galactic community," Admiral Chung continued. "We are here to collect a debt. 500 years of isolation. 500 years of being cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Someone is going to pay for that time." "Admiral Chun," Tavara said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Perhaps we should arrange a formal meeting. I can contact the Council and arrange for proper diplomatic representatives." "Oh, we will definitely be meeting with the Council. All of them. But first, Captain, I think your people need to understand exactly who they are dealing with." The human ship's scanners swept over Harmony's voice, but these were not normal sensor sweeps. Tavara's instruments detected probing beams that mapped every inch of her vessel, analyzed her weapons, and somehow accessed her computer systems. "Impressive ship," Admiral Chun commented. "Council technology has improved since our last encounter. Your defensive systems are nearly 20% more efficient than the ones we fought before." "Before?" Tavara asked. "Captain, your history lessons have been incomplete. This is not humanity's first contact with galactic civilization. 500 years ago, we were part of the galactic community. We learned your languages, studied your cultures, and tried to be good galactic citizens." The human ship rotated slowly, displaying its weapon-covered hull. "Then we discovered the truth about our fellow civilizations. We learned what the galaxy was really built on. And we declared war." Dr. Yenthl pulled up historical records on his screen, searching through 5 centuries of data. What he found made his face turn pale. "Captain," he whispered, "there are records here, buried deep in the archives. Reports of a conflict in this sector. They call it the Human War. The human war lasted 37 years, Admiral Chun continued. We fought every major species in the galaxy. We fought the Thanagarians, the Velthrons, the Altarians, even the predecessors themselves. Do you know why, Captain? Tavara did not answer. She was beginning to understand why the humans had been locked away. We fought because we discovered that your entire civilization was built on genocide. Every world you colonized, every species you encountered, every piece of technology you used, all of it was stolen from civilizations you destroyed. The human ship moved even closer. Tavara could see details of its construction now. The armor plating was not just scarred from battle. It was covered in symbols and markings from dozens of different civilizations. These marks on our hulls? Admiral Chun said, as if reading her thoughts. Each one represents a species that your ancestors wiped out. We carry their memory into battle. Admiral, that was centuries ago, Tavara protested. Current galactic civilization has peaceful relations with all species. Captain, have you ever wondered why there are no predecessor worlds in Council space? Have you ever asked why certain sectors of the galaxy remain unexplored? Have you ever questioned why some ancient ruins are forbidden to investigate? The questions hit Tavara like physical blows. She had wondered about those things, but there had always been explanations. Scientific reasons, safety concerns, bureaucratic delays. The predecessors tried to stop the genocide, Admiral Chun explained. They fought to protect the innocent species. And for their trouble, they were wiped out just like everyone else. The only reason they managed to quarantine Earth was because they used their last resources to build prison walls around us instead of around you. If this is true, Tavara said slowly, then why are you here now? What do you want? What we have always wanted, Captain. Justice. The galaxy owes a debt to every extinct species, every destroyed world, every lost civilization. And humanity is here to collect. The 3 human ships began broadcasting on all frequencies, sending data packets to every council vessel in the sector. Within hours, the information would reach every world in the galaxy. We are not here to conquer, Captain Tavara. We are here to reveal the truth. And once every species in the galaxy knows what their governments have hidden from them, everything is going to change. The broadcasts contain detailed records, ancient files, and genetic evidence of the greatest cover-up in galactic history. Proof that the peaceful Galactic Council was built on the bones of 1,000 murdered civilizations. Tavara realized that first contact was over. The war was about to begin again. Dr. Kestai had been digging in ancient ruins for 40 years. She had uncovered lost cities, discovered extinct languages, and pieced together the history of dozens of dead civilizations. But she had never felt sick at her own work until today. The dig site on Kepler 442b had started as routine archaeology. The planet showed signs of ancient habitation, and the Council Archaeological Division wanted to catalog whatever remained before approving it for colonization. Dr. Kestai expected to find the usual things: pottery fragments, building foundations, maybe some primitive tools. Instead, she found a graveyard that stretched across 3 continents. This cannot be right, muttered her assistant, Dr. Vornak, as he studied the ground-penetrating radar results. The readings show organic remains buried in layers. Millions of layers. Dr. Kestai wiped sweat from her forehead and looked at the excavation pit her team had been working in for the past week. They'd been digging carefully, documenting everything, following proper archaeological protocols. Each layer they uncovered told the same horrifying story. How many bodies are down there? She asked. Conservative estimate? 12 billion individuals. Possibly more. The number was so large it seemed meaningless. Dr. Kestai had seen mass graves before. Wars happened, plagues spread, civilizations collapsed. But this was different. The remains were organized, sorted, and buried with systematic precision. "Doctor," called out field technician Rilox from across the dig site. "You need to see this." Dr. Kestai climbed out of the pit and walked to where her technician was pointing his scanner at a series of stone monuments. The structures looked natural at first glance, just rough-hewn blocks of granite scattered across a hillside. But the scanner revealed artificial construction. "These are not random stones," Rilox explained. "They form a pattern. Each stone corresponds to a different genetic marker found in the remains below." "A memorial?" Dr. Kestai asked. "More like a catalog. Each stone represents a different species that was buried here." "Doctor, there are over 400 different genetic patterns in this graveyard. 400 different species, all killed at approximately the same time." Dr. Kestai felt her world spinning. In all her years of archaeology, she had never encountered evidence of genocide on such a massive scale. Not just the destruction of one species or one world, but the systematic extermination of hundreds of civilizations. When did this happen? Carbon dating suggests approximately 800 years ago, right around the time the predecessor civilization was at its peak. Dr. Kestai's communicator buzzed with an emergency message from the Archaeological Division headquarters. Similar discoveries were being reported across the galaxy. On Vega Prime, archaeologists had uncovered industrial-scale cremation facilities. On Rigel 7, researchers found evidence of orbital bombardments that had sterilized entire continents. On dozens of worlds, the same pattern emerged: mass death, systematic disposal, and carefully maintained records. But the most disturbing discovery came from Dr. Zintal's team on New Thanagar. Deep beneath the planet's capital city, they have found intact predecessor data storage facilities. The quantum crystal matrices contained terabytes of information that had remained hidden for centuries. Dr. Kestai received the translated files that afternoon. She read them in the privacy of her field office, and by the time she finished, her hands were shaking. The files were not scientific reports or historical records. They were tactical analyses, genetic profiles, and extermination schedules. The predecessors had not been the benevolent guides that history remembered. They had been coordinators of the largest genocide in galactic history, but they had not been the ones pulling the ballistics trigger. The files revealed the truth that had been hidden for 800 years. The current species of the Galactic Council, the Thanagarians, the Veltharans, the Corvan Empire, even her own people, were not the original inhabitants of their worlds. They were the descendants of a warrior species called the Devourers, who had swept through the galaxy like a plague. The Devourers had consumed everything in their path. They strip-mined planets, enslaved populations, and when they were done with a world, they exterminated everyone they found useless. But they were clever. Instead of moving on to empty worlds, they settled on the planets they had cleared, adopting the cultures and technologies of the species they had destroyed. Over generations, the Devourers had evolved. They forgot their violent origins and began to believe they were the peaceful civilizations they pretended to be. They rebuilt the galaxy in their image, creating the council system that promoted peace and cooperation. They even changed their names and appearances, becoming the modern species that now controlled galactic civilization. But one species had discovered the truth. Dr. Kestai found the records buried in the deepest files. 500 years ago, a young species called humanity had joined the galactic community. They were curious, energetic, and eager to learn. They explored ancient ruins, studied dead languages, and asked questions that no one else bothered to ask. The humans discovered what the Devourers had done. They uncovered the graves, decoded the records, and realized that their peaceful neighbors were the children of monsters. When they confronted the council with their evidence, They were told to keep quiet, to forget what they had learned, to be good citizens and not cause trouble. Humanity refused. The human war had not been a conquest or a rebellion. It had been a crusade. Humans fought to expose the truth, to force the galaxy to face its dark history, and to ensure that the extinct civilizations were remembered. They battled for 37 years, using increasingly desperate tactics as the entire galaxy united against them. The predecessors had been caught in the middle. As the last surviving members of an ancient species that had tried to document and preserve galactic history, they found themselves facing a terrible choice. They could allow humanity to continue their war and risk the complete destruction of both sides, or they could find another solution. They chose to build a prison, but the prison was not meant to punish humanity. It was meant to protect them. The predecessors realized that the modified Devourer species could never accept the truth about their origins. The knowledge would destroy their carefully constructed civilizations and plunge the galaxy into chaos. So they quarantined Earth, preserving the human species while hiding the evidence that could tear apart galactic society. The predecessors themselves paid the ultimate price for this choice. The effort of building and maintaining the quarantine barriers consumed their civilization's remaining resources. Within decades, they had exhausted themselves and vanished from the galaxy, leaving behind only warnings and sealed systems. Dr. Keste finished reading the files as the sun set over the vast graveyard that had once been a thriving world. Around her, similar discoveries were being made on thousands of planets. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable, and terrifying. Her communicator buzzed again. The message was from Council headquarters, marked with the highest priority encryption. All archaeological teams are ordered to cease current operations immediately. All findings related to pre-Council civilizations are to be classified under the Ancient Mysteries Protocol. Any team member who discusses these discoveries outside of official channels will be charged with spreading seditious information. Dr. Castai deleted the message and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were broadcasting the same evidence her teams had discovered. The truth could not be hidden anymore. The galaxy was about to remember its real history. And the descendants of the Devourers were not going to like what they learned about themselves. Admiral Kovesh stood in the command center of the largest military fleet in galactic history. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of over 100,000 warships from 47 different Council species. The combined firepower of this armada could destroy entire star systems. It still might not be enough. Status report. He commanded. Fleet Captain Vexandra stepped forward, her three heads each displaying different expressions of worry. Sir, we have confirmed deployments from all major Council species. The Thanagarian 7th Fleet has taken position at Grid 77 Alpha. The Velthram battle groups are holding the outer perimeter. The Kovan Empire has committed their entire Imperial Navy. And the humans? Still broadcasting from their home system, sir. Our intelligence suggests they have no more than a few hundred ships. Admiral Kovesh nodded grimly. Those numbers should have made him feel confident, but the early encounters with human vessels had been disturbing. 3 Council destroyers had tried to intercept human scouts near the edge of their system. The engagement had lasted less than 10 minutes. When it was over, the Council ships were drifting dead in space, their crews alive, but their vessels completely disabled. The humans had not destroyed them. They had simply turned off their ships. Sir, interrupted Communications Officer Halthak. The humans are broadcasting again. All frequencies, all languages. Put it on the main screen. The command center fell silent as Admiral Sarah Chan's face appeared on the display. She looked human enough. 2 eyes, dark hair, pale skin. But there was something in her expression that made even veteran military officers uncomfortable. People of the galaxy, she began, speaking in perfect galactic standard. My name is Sarah Chun, Admiral of the Human Defense Fleet. For the past 72 hours, we have been sharing historical data with your worlds. Evidence of what your ancestors did to mine. Evidence of the greatest cover-up in galactic history. Admiral Kovesh clenched his fists. The human broadcasts have been causing chaos across Council space. On some worlds, populations had risen up against their governments. On others, military units had mutinied rather than fight against the humans. The truth was spreading faster than the Council could contain it. Your leaders have chosen to respond to this evidence with military force, Admiral Chun continued. They have assembled the largest fleet in galactic history to silence us. They believe that superior numbers and advanced technology will allow them to bury the truth once again. She paused, and something that might have been sadness crossed her face. They are wrong. The transmission ended, but immediately the human fleet began to move. Long-range sensors tracked their ships as they left Earth's solar system, heading directly toward the Council Armada. How many ships? Admiral Kovesh asked. 347, sir. All combat vessels. The Admiral almost laughed. 300 ships against 100,000. The humans were either insane or suicidal. Deploy the fleet in standard battle formation. All ships are to target human vessels the moment they enter weapons range. But as the human fleet approached, Admiral Kovesh began to understand that this would not be a standard battle. The human ships moved unlike anything in Council databases. They accelerated without visible engines, changed direction without inertia, and somehow managed to avoid every sensor lock his weapons officers attempted. It was as if they were not quite there, existing partially in normal space and partially somewhere else. Sir, reported Weapons Officer Krulland, I cannot get a targeting solution. Every time our sensors lock onto a human ship, it shifts. The reading show it is there, then not there, then there again. What do you mean, not there? It appears to phase in and out of our dimension, sir. When a ship phases out, our weapons cannot touch it. When it phases back in, it is moved to a completely different position. The first human attack came without warning. One moment, Admiral Kovesh was studying the impossible sensor readings. The next moment, alarms were screaming throughout the command center. Report, he shouted. Sir, the entire 7th Battle Group has gone dark. All ships are drifting. No response to communications. Destroyed? No, sir. No, sir. Life support is active, but all ship systems are offline. It is as if something reached into their computers and simply turned them off. On the tactical display, Admiral Kovesh watched as section after section of his massive fleet went silent. The human ships moved through the Council formation like ghosts, touching each vessel for just a moment before moving on. Every ship they touched stopped fighting. How are they doing this? He demanded. Dr. Thilavar, the fleet's chief scientist, studied his instruments with 4 arms working frantically. Sir, I am detecting massive data transfers. The human ships appear to be uploading something into our computer systems. A virus? More than that, sir. They are rewriting our ship operating systems in real time, taking control of everything from life support to weapons. But, sir, they are not trying to hurt our crews. They are just making it impossible for us to fight. Admiral Kovesh realized the horrifying truth. The humans were not trying to destroy the Council fleet. They were trying to capture it intact. Every disabled ship was a potential asset for the human cause. Every surviving crew member a witness to their power. All ships switched to manual controls. Disconnect from the main computer network. But it was too late. Human technology had advanced far beyond Council understanding during their 500 years of isolation. They had learned to hack not just computer systems, but the fundamental quantum processes that made modern technology work. Sir, reported Fleet Captain Vassandra. "We are receiving surrender requests from 12 different species commanders. They want to negotiate." "Denied. We do not negotiate with terrorists." "Admiral," came a new voice over the communication system. Admiral Chun herself was speaking directly to the Council command ship. "You are making this harder than it needs to be. This is Admiral Kovesh of the Galactic Council Defense Force. Surrender now, and we will consider mercy." "Admiral, you misunderstand the situation. We are not here to conquer your worlds or destroy your people. We are here to force you to face the truth about your history. Every ship we disable, every system we capture, gives us another platform to broadcast that truth." As if to demonstrate her point, the disabled Council vessels throughout the battle area began transmitting. Not distress calls or tactical updates, but historical data. Evidence of genocide, records of extinct civilizations. Genetic analyses proving that modern Council species were the modified descendants of the Devourer race. "You have two choices, Admiral," Chun continued. "You can continue this battle and watch as we turn your entire fleet into broadcast stations for the truth. Or you can listen to what we are really trying to tell you." "And what is that?" "That 500 years ago, humanity tried to save the galaxy from the lies it was built on. We failed then because we were too weak and too few. But we have spent those centuries preparing for this moment. We have become exactly what the galaxy needs us to be." On the tactical display, the last organized Council resistance was crumbling. Human ships phased through defensive lines, disabled weapons platforms, and systematically neutralized every threat. But they did not fire a single destructive shot. "We are not your enemies, Admiral. We are your conscience. And conscience cannot be defeated by superior firepower." Admiral Kovesh looked around his command center at the faces of his officers. He saw fear, confusion, and something else, doubt. The evidence the humans had broadcast was too detailed, too consistent, too overwhelming to ignore. Even his own people were beginning to question everything they had believed about galactic history. "What do you want?" they asked quietly. "The same thing we wanted 500 years ago. Truth, justice, and the chance to build a galaxy that the extinct civilizations would be proud of." High Coordinator HFY stood alone in the Council chambers, looking at the empty seats where 847 species had once gathered. Most of the delegates had fled back to their homeworlds when the human fleet reached the core systems. Others had joined the growing rebellion spreading across the galaxy. The war was over. Humanity had won without firing a single fatal shot. "High Coordinator," announced his aide. "Admiral Chun is requesting a meeting." HFY nodded wearily. He had been expecting this moment for weeks, ever since his forces surrendered at the Battle of New Centauri. The humans could have destroyed the Council fleet easily, but instead, they had simply turned off every ship and broadcasted the truth to every world in the galaxy. "Send her in." Admiral Sarah Chung entered the chamber accompanied by 2 human officers. She looked younger than HFY had expected, but her eyes held the weight of centuries. Behind her walked a tall man with graying hair and a woman whose skin bore the scars of old battles. "High Coordinator," Admiral Chun said, offering a slight bow. "Thank you for agreeing to meet. I assume you are here to accept my surrender," HFY replied. Admiral Chun smiled, but it was not a triumphant expression. "Actually, High Coordinator, we do not want your surrender." "I do not understand." "Surrender implies defeat followed by occupation. We are not here to rule the galaxy, Coordinator. We are here to save it." Admiral Chun gestured to the empty chamber around them. "Look at this place. For over 2,000 years, it has been the center of galactic civilization. Representatives from hundreds of worlds have gathered here to make decisions that affected trillions of lives. And all of it was built on lies." She walked to the center of the chamber, where a holographic display showed the current state of the galaxy. Red zones marked worlds in rebellion, yellow zones showed neutral systems, and green zones indicated planets that had accepted the human revelations. 60% of Council member species have acknowledged the historical evidence we provided, Chen continued. Their populations have demanded answers from their governments. Some leaders have admitted the truth. Others have tried to suppress it. And what about those who refuse to accept your version of history? Sci-Fi asked. High Coordinator, truth is not a version. It is simply truth. But you raise an important point. Admiral Chun touched the display, and the image changed to show specific worlds where violence had erupted. On 14 worlds, local governments have chosen to fight rather than face their history. They have declared martial law, censored all communications, and are hunting down anyone who spreads what they call human propaganda. The gray-haired human officer stepped forward. I am General Marcus Webb, Human Strategic Command. Those 14 worlds present an interesting problem for us. How so? Because they prove that some descendants of the Devourer species have not changed as much as we hoped. They are still capable of choosing genocide over truth. Sci-Fi felt a chill run down his spine. What are you planning to do about them? Admiral Chun answered. The same thing the predecessors did to us 500 years ago. Quarantine them. She activated another display showing detailed technical schematics. Human engineering cores are already building containment barriers around those 14 systems. Perfect energy fields that will allow nothing in or out. The populations trapped inside will have to face their own history without outside interference. You are imprisoning entire worlds? We are protecting the galaxy from those who refuse to change, General Webb explained. The quarantine barriers will remain in place until those societies either evolve beyond their violent heritage or exhaust themselves through internal conflict. Sci-Fi stared at the human officers in horror. You are no better than the Devourers you claim to fight. Are we not? Admiral Chun asked calmly. The Devourers exterminated entire species. We are simply isolating the ones who refuse to stop repeating that pattern. Their populations will survive. They will just do so without the ability to hurt anyone else. The scarred woman spoke for the first time. I am Dr. Lisa Park, Director of Human Historical Preservation. High Coordinator, do you know how many species went extinct during the original Devourer expansion? I know. 47,312 distinct civilizations. We have genetic samples and historical records for each one. Over the past 500 years, humanity has been working to preserve their memories, their cultures, their contributions to galactic knowledge. She produced a data crystal from her code. This contains everything we know about the Kalani species. They lived on 7 worlds in what is now Thanagarian space. They were artists, philosophers, and peaceful traders. They developed a form of mathematics that we still use in our quantum computers. They were exterminated in a single day when the Devourers wanted their worlds for mining. Dr. Park placed the crystal on the council chamber's main table. That is one species. We have preserved the history of all 47,000. Admiral Chun returned to the holographic display. This is what we are really offering the galaxy, High Coordinator. Not conquest, not revenge, but memory. The chance to remember what was lost and to build something better. What do you want from the Council? Everything, General Webb answered bluntly. The Council system was designed to maintain the lies that kept the truth hidden. It cannot be reformed. It must be completely rebuilt. Admiral Chun nodded. We are proposing a new galactic government. One based on truth, accountability, and justice for the extinct civilizations. She touched the display again, and it showed plans for massive construction projects across the galaxy. Memorial worlds for each extinct species. research stations dedicated to preserving their knowledge, educational centers where every galactic citizen can learn the real history of their people. And how do you expect to pay for such projects? Reparations, Dr. Park said simply. Every current council species will contribute resources proportional to their ancestors' involvement in the original genocides. The Thanagarian Empire, for example, will provide raw materials for memorial construction. The Velthran Collective will fund historical research projects. Zephyhi felt the weight of the proposal crushing down on him. You are asking us to dismantle our entire civilization. We are asking you to build a better one, Admiral Chun corrected. High Coordinator, your current civilization is beautiful, peaceful, and prosperous. But it is built on the bones of the innocent. That foundation will always be weak. She gestured around the empty chamber. Look what happened when the truth came out. Half your member species left the council immediately. The other half are fighting civil wars. Your civilization cannot survive the weight of its own lies. And if we refuse? General Webb smiled coldly. Then you join the 14 quarantined worlds, permanently. The chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of the life support systems. Zephyhi looked at the three humans and realized that they had given him an illusion of choice. The old galaxy was already dead. The only question was whether it would be buried with honor or with shame. What guarantees do we have that humanity will not become the new devourers? Admiral Chun walked to the great window that looked out on the stars. Because, High Coordinator, we remember what it feels like to be victims. We remember what it means to watch your people suffer while others look away. We will never let that happen again. How can you be certain? She turned back to face him. Because we are not finished. There are other quarantine systems scattered across the galaxy. Other species that the predecessors locked away. Some of them are probably extinct by now. Others may have survived, like we did. Dr. Park activated the display one final time, showing star charts with dozens of sealed sectors marked in red. Our real mission is just beginning, High Coordinator. We are going to find every quarantined species and give them the choice we never had. Join us in building a better galaxy. Or remain isolated until they are ready to change. And if some of those species are as dangerous as the Devourers, then we will do what the predecessors could not, General Webb said. We will stop them, permanently. Admiral Chun extended her hand to Zephyhi. The choice is yours, High Coordinator. Help us build a galaxy that honors the dead and protects the innocent. Or watch us build it without you. Zephyhi looked at the offered hand for a long moment. Behind him, the empty council chambers represented 2,000 years of galactic civilization. Ahead of him, the humans offered something new and uncertain, but the truth was undeniable. The old galaxy had been built on lies. Perhaps it was time to try building one on truth. He reached out and shook Admiral Chun's hand.